I'm going to read this from my iPad. I've never done that before. Quvenzhané Wallis did it at the Golden Globes on her iPhone, and she's 5 years old, so I figure I can probably get through this. So I'm going to be flicking my finger during this. Don't take it personally. Every summer for many years now, the theater community joins forces with Donna Lieberman to celebrate the New York Civil Liberties Union, and every summer there are a number of critically important victories over illiberalism, censorship, discrimination, and suppression of freedom to celebrate. And every summer there are many reasons to be concerned enough about the illiberalism, discrimination, and various forms of anti-democratic skullduggery to make us happy to set aside time to come down to Washington Square, dig ever deeper down in our pockets, and show up to support the work the NYCLU does, because we know that the effective functioning of the Constitution and of democratic society itself depends on the engagement of its citizens as voters and also as direct advocates and participants. And we know that groups like the NYCLU and the ACLU, I should change that, there are no groups like the NYCLU or the ACLU. There's only the New York Civil Liberties Union and the American Civil Liberties Union, and it's no exaggeration to state that more than merely offering a handy way for citizens like us to have a direct political and hence historical efficacy and agency, the NYCLU and the ACLU are so essential to the functioning of our republic that it's impossible to imagine the republic functioning without them. They're like a part of the machinery of democracy in America, part of the reason that part of the time the machine works, and irreplaceable in putting our democracy back on the tracks when it threatens to run off the rails. Also, of course, you get to come tonight and hear fabulous songs sung by fabulous people, and for bupkis compared to what you have to pay to schlep up to see something in a Times Square theater. You know, like some musical adaptation of, well, I was going to try to make a joke by invoking the name of a film too improbable and absurd to be adapted for the musical theater, but I couldn't think of one that isn't already in development. So let's say that tonight costs bupkis compared to a musical adaptation of Antonin Scalia's new runaway bestseller, The Holocaust Was Caused by Activist Judges. If you didn't see the news, I didn't make that up. He really did just say that, and remarkably, he's still there. You don't have to pay big bucks to see that. For a fraction of the price of a ticket for that, you'll have an evening of sublime music, and you can send the money you save to a worthy cause, like the NYCLU, or to the Impeach Antonin Scalia, he's so fucking embarrassing fund. Actually, better you should give more money to the NYCLU and let America's greatest conservative legal thinker keep us laughing for a few years longer. This is an exceedingly exciting time to be standing up and shelling out for the NYCLU. So much to celebrate. The passage of the Community Safety Act will bring civic safety and civil rights to New York, new and powerful protections against discriminatory stop and frisk policies and other forms of racial profiling, and genuinely effective oversight of the NYPD. And of course, at very long last, and to Justice Scalia's notable and noisy chagrin, the overturning of DOMA, which does so much more than rectify a grotesquely unconstitutional social and economic injustice, as if that wasn't enough. This decision, this victory, won because of the open-hearted, clear-headed support of many people and groups, including the NYCLU, ends one of the many ways immigrant rights are routinely traduced in America, and as if that wasn't enough, it'll help form the legal basis from which to compel more states to join the ranks of sanity, decency, civility, and equality, to recognize same-sex marriage, and ultimately, though this will take more struggle, to clear the way for actual full federal national recognition of same-sex marriages, just like Her Majesty Queen Great-Grandma signed into British law last week. I came here from a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender thing at the Metropolitan Museum, and everybody was like really, really excited that the Duchess of Kent gave birth to. I don't get it, but anyway. They have some very nice and very valuable paintings, those people, but that's sort of... Donna asked me to talk a bit about Lincoln and the messy deals and dispiriting compromises needed to make progress happen in a democracy, since I wrote a movie about Lincoln, and I always try to do what Donna tells me, but this one proved a little tricky, because what made Lincoln a great politician, a real political genius, I think, and genius is always extremely rare, that's why we call it genius, but in politics, genius is even rarer. Lincoln's indispensability, it seems to me, stems from his mastery of politics, which, it seems to me, has very little to do with what makes the NYCLU so indispensable. In fact, I think Lincoln, grand master of the strategic feint, the deal, rhetorical strike, difficult compromise, in some sense embodies the antithesis of what we think of when we think of the NYCLU, which insists against all complexity, political strategy, realpolitik, and compromise, that we adhere unyieldingly to the tenets of civil liberty, that at all times we keep faith with our core principles, with the essential mandates of our Constitution, and the pluralist, secular, law-based, freedom and equality-based social experiment that is America. That doesn't mean that Lincoln, who I know has a bad rap in civil liberties circles, undeserved, I think, and we can argue that out in the lobby afterwards. This doesn't mean that Lincoln, the paradigmatic politician, betrayed democratic faith, or in my opinion, and again, I'll see you in the lobby afterwards and we can fight about it, that President Obama has. A democracy needs politicians and civil rights and civil liberties advocates. A democracy requires rigor and nuance, clarity and subtlety, patience and impatience, hot outrage and cool calculation, the courage that faith and vision demand, and the courage that progress in real time and real space demands. Democracy requires and can't live without a full-blooded, seriously engaged, enduring dialectical grappling between those who, as Lincoln said of the radicals in his own party, have their eyes directed Zionwards, and those who keep everyone's eyes fixed on the far horizon, and those who know the tricks of navigation that can keep us advancing towards Zion. Clarity, not purity, is what's required, and adherence to absolute truth that doesn't lapse into absolutism. Subtlety is not synonymous with lying. Nuance is not the same thing as sleaze. And maybe we need to remember that the enemy is the Patriot Act and inadequately supervised FISA courts and a Tea Party beswamped Congress too consumed by ego-anarchist, know-nothingist, obstructionist lunacy to be entrusted with supervision or with commensurating civil liberties with the digital age or anything else. The enemy is all of the above and privatizing surveillance work, and not Barack Obama. As long as I can remember, I just sort of had to say that. As long as I can remember, or any of us can remember, the NYCLU and the ACLU have been prominent partners in the national conversation, holding us to self-evident truths, no matter how uncomfortable it is to face them, urging us forward by demanding that we live up to our highest and bravest aspirations, demanding that we, in our roles as citizens, act, and never allowing us to lapse into the uselessness of carping critics, never allowing us to surrender to the dangerous comforts of despair. So, thanks for supporting the NYCLU. Support it more as much as you can with all your time and your votes, and most of all, with your dollars. All the dollars you can spare, and you can always spare more dollars than you think. Give everything you have. Bankruptcy isn't so terrible, just ask Detroit. Actually, don't ask Detroit, things are sort of bad out there. Ask the Lehman Brothers. Anyway, solvent or insolvent or someplace in between, thanks for coming tonight to support the NYCLU. It worked. And now, these next two videos are winners of the NYCLU's Visual Arts Competition. The first video, Imagination PV, is by Nadia Ali and Si-Yan Jamie Fung. And the second video is Stereotypes by Christina Wang. Thanks.